as you're probably already aware, a lot of policies and procedures are put into place to, mitigate problems and stop things from occurring slash deal with problems as they occur. So basically, a set of rules on how things should operate within either a network or a business in general. We have policies at college, which you probably know of. One of these policies, for example, is making sure you have your cards on you at all times because then we can identify who you are. Same for a network. You could set up um, logins to your network so you know that they are who they say they are. That's the whole point. So you could have a policy saying that you need to have a username and password, um, but it also makes it safer for humans as well in general because it might be that you put policies in place to stop people getting hurt. Um, with a network, you could have a policy in place where you're not allowed to sort of touch it while you touch a network piece of hardware while it's switched on. You can't go inside it internally, which you would think would be common sense, but a lot of people um, in a business will not always use the common sense like that. They will think, oh, I could just open it up and be fine. But that's why you put these policies and procedures in place. So in case anybody does ever think that, there should be like, oh, I'll check the policy first, I'll check the procedure on this first, and this is what I should do. That's the whole point. So it's to sort of stop things from going wrong or loss of life or anything like that. Because potentially speaking, if you are working with networks, you could damage a part of the network and damage yourself depending on how you deal with it. So obviously you need to follow set instructions to meet a policy. So it might be that you have a policy where you have to use a password that's a certain length of got an uppercase letter, numbers and special characters and stuff like that. If all people follow it, that should mean that majority of logons should be quite safe unless you use something like capital P password 12345 star or something like that. Obviously policies can be for what's the word? So not annual review, but obviously monthly basis, like it says on there. You could have things that run every so often. So you could have like a policy where your antivirus needs updating every month, which would be a fine policy. Like that's a good thing. Like you could have policies that say the antivirus needs to actually scan the network every day or every hour or something like that. Like that's what them policies are there for. They're there to sort of stop risks from occurring. Because what happens if you didn't run the antivirus for every day or every hour? What happens if you just run it when you felt like it? It could be that your network's already been attacked. So this is what these policies and procedures are in place to do. But the difference between a policy and procedure, so a procedure would need to be in place in order to do these sort of things for a thing to run every month. So the policy could be that you need to run the or update the antivirus every month, but the procedure would be right. Go on to. I'm not saying a network will run off McAfee, but it's just what's come to mind. It might be that you say, right, go on to McAfee's website, check if there's any new updates, ring McAfee and check for any new updates, manually install the updates. Like that would be a procedure, like how to actually do the policy that it's asked for. So that's the main difference. So, like I've put there, that's a bit of a different one. So it's backing update, then encrypting it, then installing new software, restart, etc., etc., etc. It's just a set of instructions that you follow, essentially. Obviously, business will. Let me speak in English again. Businesses will need to sort of put these in place because, well, one, they want the network to be secure, and they also want people to be safe as well. That's the whole reason we put policies, procedures, and laws and stuff like that in because it's to stop things going wrong. So, if you ever need to talk about why it's important, that's why it's important. Obviously, you don't want to be not putting these policies in place just because it's too hard, or it would require more money or anything like that to train your staff to follow these policies. That's why you have them, to stop these problems. But what I want you to do is think about different policies and procedures. So think of actual policies that the college might run. Obviously, a lot of people should know now about the policy about misconduct. So obviously, with the computers, you're not supposed to use the computers for anything, strange, or downloading any illegal stuff or anything like that. That would count as misconduct. But that's a policy, so you can talk about that and why that's important. Like, why is it important to not, put this thing in place where you're not allowed to download illegal software? Well, there's numerous reasons, obviously, because one, you don't want your network to be infected by a rogue virus or anything that's attached to it. You want the person to be safe because they could be downloading something that might expose them on the internet somewhere for something or other. It might be that it damages their computers at home because it might take it home on a memory stick, that sort of stuff. So that's why you put them sort of things in place. But obviously, what else could you be put in place to make sure a network's secure? So when you're talking about policies and procedures, it might be that in order to do a policy, or a procedure, you need to have the systems in place to do that. So you might have to talk about, well, to run like a backup policy, you'd need to make sure that you've got systems in place that can actually do the backup. So you could have to sort of mention that in order for some of these policies and procedures to be carried out, you actually need the hardware there to do it, or the software there to do it as well, which might cost extra, or training of people in order to use it properly. So that's what I want you to sort of think about policies and procedures. There's quite a lot to think about there. It's not as simple as you sort of first perceive it. There is a lot of underlying things there. So make sure that you thoroughly sort of research this, and when you're writing your assignments, you sort of reflect that you understand that policies and procedures can depend on numerous different factors, not just if the company wants to put it in place or not.